Welcome back to Craftardia. Today we will be creating an animated billboard in Fallout 4. We will be using one of the house plots in Sanctuary Hills as our location for the project. The first thing that we need are 4 large generators. I decided to place them in the far back of the plot, since all they need to do is give power. Next step is creating a platform on which the billboard lights will be placed on. I decided to use 3 hallway prefabs so I can see everything clearly, even though taking a prefab that has only one side opened would be better, since ideally you do not want to see the generators and other stuff when looking directly at the billboard. Since all of my projects are created on a save file I do not care about, it doesn't really matter. After placing the prefabs, I placed 3 terminals in each one of them. Terminals are located in the Power Miscellaneous tab. Make sure you have the Hacker perk unlocked, otherwise you will not be able to build them. Afterwards, I placed 2 interval switchers behind 2 terminals. They will be necessary in order to animate the billboard. Let's leave that alone for now and let's build the billboard. You can find the billboard lights in the same place as the terminals, and I decided to place a certain amount of them. I can't tell you how many because I fell while placing them and lost count, and then I said fuck it, who cares, as long as I can properly create a flat and even billboard. Placing these little motherfuckers took ages, and I hated doing it, but I figured it is for a greater purpose. The purpose to spread the knowledge of animated billboard creation. A task only a select few in the world are able to execute. A task so important that I had to set aside my hatred towards these blocks of light, which of course I did. After completing the billboard, now was the time to connect the power lines everywhere. The first step is to connect the generators with the terminals and the switchers. It is important that you do not connect multiple terminals and switchers with the same power generator. You need to connect one generator to one terminal and one switcher. In the case of the first terminal, you only need to connect the generator to it, since there's no switcher for it, because all lights connected to that terminal will always be on. Now let's connect the always on lights. I dragged the wire from the always on terminal up to the billboard, connected the wire to one light, and then in order to continue connecting the lights, selected the light that already has a wire and pressed space to continue adding wires onto other lights. It took me 10 minutes to realize this, and my hatred towards these fucking shits almost prevailed, but I learned in time and managed to connect the body of my animated billboard character. At this point I had no idea what I was creating, as I didn't want to create the same thing as the original creation from Reddit, but I also had no plan of my own. After connecting all of the always on lights, I went back down to the second terminal, the first one with the switch. Now instead of connecting the wire from the terminal to the lights, this time I took the wire from the switch, since these lights will go on and off every second. The wire needed to connect to a light right next to the always on light. I created a pattern and then also transferred the wire connection on the other side and connected the same lights so the pattern is the same. These were the hands of my character. And now I needed to do the same thing for the last terminal. I need to say this again, I still had no idea what I was creating, but it started to look like a crippled crab, which I liked. My dad keeps crabs as pets during summer because he uses them to catch fish, and sometimes the crabs wouldn't have a few legs or an arm. Or, well, not an arm, more like a claw, but yes, I like crabs. Anyways, I realized that I needed a bit more power to finish the legs, since one generator can support up to 10 lights. I added the medium generator behind the big one, and all the lights lit up. Now you see how they are slow. The on and off switch wasn't set to 1 second, so I went to the terminal and set the on and off switches to be 1 second on both terminals. Now the crippled crab switched his legs and arms on and off faster, but they still weren't in sync. I had difficulties getting them to be in sync, so I left it alone. This is also the reason why you need to keep the terminals on separate power sources. If all terminals were connected to the same power source, the switchers would get onto the same pattern and all of the lights would go on and off at the same time, and you'd end up with shit and not an animation. You can also use the terminal to change the colors of the lights connected to that particular terminal. I decided to use random colors on my crab legs to make sure that it is very clear how crippled he is. Then I restarted the game and the animations were in sync, which was pretty cool. I don't know does this work every time, but it did do the trick for me. There are also speakers available in the game, which give your billboards tones. I decided to add them to my switching lights. At first I connected the speakers to the terminals, but it is wrong. That will make the speakers play tones the entire time. You need to connect the speakers to the switcher in order for them to work properly. You can also change the tune of the tone in the terminal. As long as the tunes are different, you can hear it. It makes my brain hurt and I'm not sure do I like it, but it is quite nice to have so many creative options in the game. So there you go, this is my crippled crab animated billboard, inspired by a fellow redditor's Space Invader billboard. I hope you will attempt to create an animated billboard yourself, and please, do let me know what it looks like. I have been Petard, your glorious lord, and I shall see you next time.